Sometimes I like to look at expensive clothing brands kind of like it's an art museum. It's like, obviously, nothing here is coming home with me. Not a thing is in this year's fiscal budget, but I'm just here to appreciate the craftsmanship. And so I was scrolling the House of CBD. Sorry, that's a different website. Wow. I was scrolling the House of CB website the other day, and I saw something that looked familiar. And it wasn't the dress, it was the fabric. I'm like, wait a minute, I have that fabric. Yeah, it's right here. This is actually a bedsheet that I thrifted a while ago, but I mean, take a look at it. Like, it's basically the same fabric, right? You can see it has these gorgeous pink roses and then these smaller light blue and yellow flowers that just form these really gorgeous sort of floral swirls. This is a bedsheet that I thrifted for, I can't remember exactly, but probably $3 to $5. It definitely wasn't more than that. This has been in my fabric stash for an embarrassing amount of time because I think that this is so gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And I have this bad habit of not using fabrics that I really, really love because I'm scared of ruining them. But if the Royal House of CB says this is a good way to use this fabric, who am I to argue? And so today I'm going to be using this fabric to make my own version of this dress, and we'll see. Hopefully it works out. So let's get started. So for the base of the dress, I'm going to be using the Gemma dress by Lizzie Patterns. This, I think, is really good for the base because it has very much the same silhouette. It has a strapless option and it has the V waist with a nice full skirt. And so I think it'll be easy to hack it into the House of CB dress. Well, I shouldn't say easy. I think it'll be doable to hack it into the House of CB dress. We'll see how easy it ends up being. I started, logically, by cutting out the fabric. By the way, if you're wondering what those silver discs holding my pattern pieces down are, those are giant washers that I bought at Home Depot for like 25 cents. This is actually a really useful tool. It has some heft to it, so your pattern piece isn't sliding all over the place, but it's also thinner than my least favorite Girl Scout cookie, so it doesn't get in your way when you're cutting, especially corners. The bodice came together in a snap. I mean, if a snap lasted about an hour. But still, it was a simple process. I lined up the notches, pinned, stitched, and repeated. To finish, I gave the curved edges a few clips so that the seams would sit smooth and pretty, just like my dog when he smells bacon. So I do not have a tailor's ham, which is typically what you need to iron a curved seam, because when you try to iron it on a flat surface, it folds, it gets wrinkled, it's hard to really do well. So what I typically do is I just roll up a dish towel from the kitchen and stick that underneath. And it's certainly not perfect, but it usually works out okay. Using my makeshift tailor ham, I just kept pressing the seams until they were flatter than my hair in middle school, and not nearly as fried, I will tell you that. All right, it is a few days later, maybe more than that, I've kind of lost count. But anyway, we are back. We are going to continue the project. But first, really, really quickly, I just got back from the thrift store and I have to show you one of the things that I got. Look at this little diva. I love this so much. I think that this is so cute. I love how pink toned everything is. And like, look at the sass on that face. I absolutely love it. I texted my mom a picture of this and I was like, I love her. I would die for this girl. And so obviously I had to buy it. I had to bring it home. And so this is going to be hanging out in my sewing room from now on. Honestly, I feel like I should name her. Let me know if you have any name suggestions for this queen in the comments. But it also inspired me to dig up this old picture of me. I think this was at like a friend's tea party, birthday party or something like that. You can see I'm wearing a pink feather boa and white gloves. And I think I have a butter yellow shirt with purple and hot pink flowers on it. So, I can't really say that my style has changed too much. But like, you're going to tell me that these two girls wouldn't be friends? In fact, I actually, when I was a kid, I did do ballet. I did tap, but then I kind of like switched over to ballet because I thought that that was prettier and the girls got to wear prettier outfits. A lot of decisions in my life have been motivated by what outfit can I wear during this activity. So I think I'm actually going to try to find a frame for this photo. There's, kind of that social media audio that's gone around that's like, I don't dress for men. I dress for little girls who have been told at some point in their lives that this is not a fashion show. And so when you see me rolling out a clothing rack of very impractical dresses, a lot of hot pink, a lot of butter yellow, a lot of florals, or if you see me recreating a $300 strapless mini dress in October, even though that is not even remotely in season, this is who I'm doing that for, okay? We support the girls who wear feather boas in this house. So yeah, I think I'm going to frame this and I'm going to keep both of these little diva Barbies around for my sewing inspiration. Anyway, moving on, the bodice is complete. And so we're going to move on to putting the skirt together. But first, every prima donna needs pockets. I have to say, the ability to add pockets, like real pockets, into any piece of clothing that I want is one of the most powerful feelings on earth. Like, why would I recreate a $300 dress and not add pockets? That's like baking a pistachio rosewater cake and forgetting the frosting. Okay, so now it is time to attach the skirt to the bodice. And I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do that, because if you've never sewn a V waistline before, it is deceptively difficult. It seems like it should be easy. It really does, because you have this V, right? We got that. And then you have this V, and it seems like they should just snap into place like a puzzle piece. However, because it is sewing, you have to sew them right sides together, which means that you have this triangle that's pointing down and you have this triangle that's pointing up, and you have to sew them together like this. That's actually not a very good visual, but I'll show you in a second. But you get what I'm saying though. You have basically triangles pointing two different directions and you have to gather them and sew them in a straight line. Don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Step 1. Test the sturdiness of your sewing table. You want to make sure it won't collapse when you start hitting your head against it. Step 2. Stick a pin in the center of the skirt. Once everything is gathered, it's hard to tell where the center point is, so this acts as kind of a tiny silver beacon to help you spot it. Step 3. Before you start gathering, increase your stitch length. And okay, this next step is not technically correct, so for legal purposes, it's not advice, just an FYI. But when I gather, I like to crank up the tension in my machine so it does some of the work for me. I usually max out the tension, but even if you only turn it up to a half shot of espresso level of intensity, it'll still give you a nice head start. Step 4. Pull out all the pins you have. Trust me, this is no time to economize on pins. When you pin the skirt to the bodice, start with the center. This is your North Star. It is the most important point to align. Then work your way out. What I like to do after I pin the center is gather the skirt until it's about the same length as the bodice. Then I pin the ends of the bodice, pin the side seams of the skirt to the side seams of the bodice, and then even out the gathering. And don't forget to use so many pins your project looks like a futuristic hedgehog. Before you sew the skirt to the bodice, remember to turn the tension back down, unless you happen to enjoy surprise puckers and random wrinkles. I have done that several times. Do not rush through sewing the gathered skirt to the bodice. Trust me, this part is like a cat in a good mood. Let your guard down and it'll turn on you so fast. When there's that much fabric bunched up, it's surprisingly easy for something to slip under the needle that shouldn't. A few extra seconds of patience here will save you a whole lot of seam ripping later. So, take your time, pause, straighten the fabric out, and if your sewing machine starts sounding like it's trying to break concrete, don't ignore that. Learn from my mistakes. But if you take it slowly and carefully, you cannot possibly mess it up. Seriously? What the heck? Once you've seam ripped and resewn any areas you may have messed up, clip into the V of the skirt. This will relieve some of the tension and help it keep its shape. Then, press the seam until it's smoother than my brain after watching Love is Blind. Okay, so I just very quickly basted in a zipper so that I could get a better look at how things are coming along. And honestly, I am really, really happy with it so far. Here, let me come up closer so you can see. So the point is pretty sharp. I think we did a pretty good job with the V. Also, I forgot / didn't notice that this is a little bit drop waisted, and I love that. Overall, we are looking good. One thing I do want to point out, if you end up making this pattern yourself, this is the actual length of the mini skirt according to the pattern. And I just wanted to point that out because I'm very glad that I'm going to be doing like an underskirt that'll add like another inch or two of length because I haven't even hemmed this yet. This skirt is about as short as my patience for people who walk dogs without a leash. If you are just making this pattern and you just want a mini skirt length, honestly, I would still recommend adding like an inch or two, especially if you want to do a rolled hem and maybe even like a little bit longer in the back because I'm not turning around because I didn't fully sew up the back. Like I said, I just basted in the zipper, but like I don't even need a subway grate. I'm telling you, just a very small breeze and we could have a 7-year itch situation on our hands. But anyway, speaking of dogs and leashes and walking dogs, I need to go walk mine. So I do still need to finish the seam attaching the skirt and the bodice. I mean, I guess technically, I don't know if I really need to finish it because I am sewing a lining and I'm gonna understitch, but I don't know. I just like to be safe. I like to finish everything and not have to worry about my seams fraying like ever. So I am gonna do that and then probably go ahead, sew up the back and hem it. I'll probably do all that after the walk. And then tomorrow we can get started on the lining and we're pretty close to done, you guys. I'm very excited. I think that this is looking so stinking cute so far. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick little pause. It is thundering. Hopefully it does not start raining on us, but we will see. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the rest of this. The next day, I got to work on the lining. Because I wanted the lining skirt to peek out a bit, and also because I wanted to avoid a quick turn becoming a tell-all, I extended the skirt by 2 inches. This part might look familiar, mostly because it is. To make the lining, I'm basically doing everything that I just did, except with a plain white fabric instead of a pretty floral one. And here we have a sewist confidently doing absolutely nothing, actually. My bobbin ran out, but I'm still pushing fabric like I'm accomplishing something. The realization's about to hit me in 3, 2... Okay, so I have sewn together the bodice and I've sewn together the skirt, but before I sew them together, I was taking another look at the House of CB pictures and I realized there's actually a layer of tulle in between the main fabric layer and the lining layer. That tulle layer just adds a nice fullness to the skirts, you know, it adds a little bit of prima ballerina floofiness to it. Yes, I'm pretty sure floofiness is the correct technical term. And I mean, who doesn't want a little extra fullness in their skirts? That's so fun. That's the whole point of making a dress like this, you know? So before we go any further, we're just going to hit pause really quickly. I'm going to get a little bit of tulle so that I can add a nice little tulle skirt before I sew the lining skirts and lining bodice together. You can come with me if you want. You want to just hop on in? Yeah, let's go shopping. It'll only be a sec, I promise. Hey, I hope you don't mind, but someone else wanted to come along too. Okay, I'm back. Darcy and I took a little trip down to Michael's to get this tulle, which, oh my gosh, Darcy had the absolute time of his life. So Darcy is named after Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. And in some ways, I think that it is very appropriate. He looks very intimidating, but he's actually such a sweetheart. He's tall, he's dark, he's handsome, he is very quiet. But a big difference is that my Darcy is such an extrovert. He loves being the center of attention. He can be a little touchy with other dogs, which is another similarity, I guess, between him and Mr. Darcy, but he absolutely loves people to death. He was having such a great time. So many of the employees were coming up and cooing over him and trying to guess what breed he is, which our best guess is that he's a Lab Great Dane mix because he's very, very tall. He has the longest, lankiest legs you've ever seen in your life. Like, if Victoria's Secret ever needed a dog model, he would be a shoo-in. But anyway, he had a great time. We got the 3 yards of tulle that we needed, and this tulle was only like 90 cents a yard or something like that. Very, very cheap. And so I've been debating exactly what I want to do with this. At first, I was kind of wondering if maybe I wanted to cut it a little bit longer, add a little extra length so that there'd be a little extra gathering, and that would help the skirt stay a little fuller looking. But I think in the end, what I've decided to do is that I'm going to cut it according to the pattern, but I'm going to fold the tulle so that there are 2 layers of tulle instead of just one. And I think that'll add some good stiffness and structure. That should just help the skirt look nice and full and like I'm ready for my prima ballerina debut. Sorry, I just have so much ballet imagery in my head right now. I actually was just Googling like vintage ballerina costumes because I was like, do I maybe want to make that for Halloween this year? But anyway, I think I'm just going to cut out essentially 2 skirt layers, sew them together, and sew them to the lining skirt. So let's get going on that. You know, I was thinking as I was cutting out this tulle, actually, the last time I sewed with tulle was when I was a little kid. Well, I guess not like terribly little, but pretty young. I made a veil for one of my stuffed animals. You know how like when you're a kid, you have such like rich histories for all of your like stuffed animals and dolls and stuff like that. They always have like their own little dramas and relationships, and they're leading such like a vibrant, complicated life. My sister and I, we were big on playing with dolls and stuff like that. And so we had full lore for all of our stuffed animals. And then we were actually big Polly Pocket girls. We didn't play a lot with Barbies. We had one Barbie from Barbie and the Nutcracker who we called Aunt Clara. She was like the adult in the group. But it's funny. So like, you know, we'd have like weddings and stuff for them. And so I made a little veil for one of my stuffed animal cats when she got married. It was actually pretty nice. It was like a light blue tulle because it was her something blue. And then I sort of tricked up like this little headband situation and sewed like silver embroidery and stuff on it. I might still have that somewhere around actually. I spent a lot more time thinking about my toys getting married as a kid than I ever thought about like my own wedding. But yeah, I loved making like little costumes and stuff for my toys. I remember we went through one phase. I have no idea where this came from. Like all of our stuffed animals had fruit themed superhero like alter egos that we came up with. Why fruit? No idea. I made little costumes for all of them too. I made them like little like personalized capes and stuff like that. Actually, I know that I still have those around. One second, I'm gonna dig some out to show you. They're pretty cute. Okay, so these are some of the little superhero costumes I made for our stuffed animals. First up, we have Apple Amphibian. Sorry, I'm trying to show it off as well as I can. This one's tied at the front and it looks like a big knot. But I made this for my sister's frog stuffed animal. Embroidered the initials on there. I cut like little apples out of felt and like embroidered those on with like a little green leaf and stuff like that. Did some yellow cross stitching up at the top. I don't know what's with these holes at the corners. I guess that was an artistic decision that I made. This one I think was Pear Puppy, and I knitted this cape. You can see I did a little rib stitch up at the top and then probably strung some yarn through there to kind of tie it around. Again, cut the initials out of felt and some little pairs. These were supposed to be like the little periods. And then this was for one of my stuffed animals. So this was Kiwi Kitty. It's so funny that I'm such an obsessed dog mom now because every stuffed animal I had growing up was a cat. That was all I had. I was a crazy cat lady as a kid, and then somehow I grew up and became a obsessed paranoid dog mom. People change. I do still love cats. Nothing against cats. But anyway, yeah, so I embroidered the little K's onto this cape that I knitted. I used black embroidery thread on top of like the lime green K's because I thought that made it look like the inside of a kiwi. And then I embroidered one little kiwi on there, but like kiwi is one of those fruits that doesn't look super cute from the outside. So I guess I decided one was enough and then added some little green tassels in the corner. But anyway, I think that we're ready to sew this tulle together. So now it's time to sew everything together. And unfortunately, I am going to have to ask you to put your instincts as a sewist aside and just trust me for a moment. So here's the thing. When everything is all finished, we want the right side of the lining piece to be facing toward you. So then that way, all of the raw edges of both the lining and the main fabric are sandwiched, right? We don't want any exposed seams here. So we need the right side of the bodice facing toward you. However, the right side of the skirt needs to be facing outward because we don't want those seams exposed either. So, as you know, as a sewist, the cardinal rule is sew right sides together. It's basically like a Newton law when it comes to sewing. Like water always runs downhill, heat rises, an object in motion tends to stay in motion until it is acted upon by another force or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a physicist. And typically you sew right sides together. However, in this case, because we do need the seams of the bodice and the seams of the skirt to be facing two different directions, we're actually going to sew the right side of the bodice to the wrong side of the skirt. And I know it's going to feel weird doing that, kind of like a left-handed person using right-handed scissors, or like when you're in a different city and Jeopardy comes on at 8:30 instead of 7:30, or like sleeping on a different side of the bed than you're used to. But just trust me, it's all going to work out, okay? Let's do it. I have to gather this skirt a little more to make sure everything lines up well. Okay, so I'm all done with the lining, but before we sew the lining and the main fabric together, we actually have to hit pause really quickly and make the sleeves, which is the part that I have been dreading the most, by like a lot. So the dress has these beautiful kind of off the shoulder flutter sleeves that go all the way around the top of the dress. And unfortunately, I don't have any pattern that I can really use to hack that. So I'm gonna try to engineer something that should look like the inspiration. And we're gonna see how this goes. To start, I measured from the center of my chest to where I wanted the sleeves to start.
Then I measured how long I wanted the sleeve to be, then where I wanted the sleeve to end to the middle of my back. And I use centimeters because they're smaller, so it's easier to measure them without using fractions or decimals. I'm really not trying to add any more math into this situation. By the way, it's totally fine if the measurements aren't exact, because the next step is to multiply all of those numbers by 1.5. I took some tracing paper, and by tracing paper, I actually mean a roll of medical exam table paper I bought off of Amazon, and I drew a straight line marking each section, front, sleeve, and back. Then I added 2 centimeters of length on each side for seam allowance. And unfortunately, that is when I stopped using science, math, engineering, or anything else easily explainable and replicated. I freehanded the shape of the flutter sleeve, with the smallest point, 1 centimeter, at the center of the chest and widening to 5.5 centimeters at the widest point. Then I added 2 centimeters for seam allowance. Almost too late, I did remember to add an extra 1.5 centimeters to the top of the sleeve portion. I'll use this to create the elastic channel later. And since I know all of that was very confusing, here's a little diagram of what I mean. After I cut 2 sleeve pieces out of the main fabric and 2 out of the lining fabric, I folded the short ends of each sleeve down twice and sewed the edges. Then I hemmed the sleeve, effectively doing the same with the long end.
Before I continue with the sleeves, the dress has this, I want to say chunky lace. I don't think that's the right word. Wide lace, I guess, is more what I'm thinking. That goes around like the sleeve and also the bottom of the lining skirt. And so I have this lace. I think I picked this up on one of the days I was out antiquing with my mom. And you can see it's a very traditional sort of lace, nice, beautiful sort of floral pattern. It's nice and wide. Honestly, I have no idea how much lace I have here. I'm not sure it's gonna be enough, but we're just gonna try it and keep our fingers crossed. So I'm gonna add this to the bottom of like the lining sleeves. And hopefully we have enough left over for the skirt. You know, they say it's an unwise person who doesn't count the cost before they make something. Definitely nailed that phrase, whatever it was that I was trying to think of. But you know, is it unwise or is it just having a little bit of joie la vie? No, it's definitely stupid, it is, but it's also not that big of a deal, you know? I definitely have enough to get through the 2 sleeves, and if I don't have enough for the skirts, we figure it out then.
After adding the lace, I pinned the main fabric and lining sleeve layers together at the top and did a zigzag stitch over the unsewn part, both to sew them together and to finish that edge. Okay, so now I'm gonna fold down this little box that I created. I'm gonna fold it, pin it obviously, sew it, and then I'm gonna use this as a channel to run some elastic through and make the part of the sleeve that goes over my shoulders.
So something about this project keeps making me think about playing dolls with my sister. And oh my gosh, it's kind of cracking me up. I'm telling you, when we played with dolls, they were in a battle for their lives every single day. First of all of them were orphans. None of them ever had any parents. They were in constant danger of getting executed or getting exiled. Like, they were never safe. It's just so funny how dramatic it always was. I love it. That's girlhood, you know? Someone was always in danger of losing their kingdom. Someone was always trying to escape a murder plot. Someone was getting kidnapped. They had rough lives, I'm telling you. It wasn't all tea parties and shopping at the mall for these poor dolls. And I think most girls are like that. It's so funny how it's like playing dolls is portrayed as like this peaceful activity when it's like really training grounds for becoming like murder mystery authors. Any woman who's obsessed with true crime, I think that's where it started, just playing dolls. Anyway, I think we're ready to sew in this elastic.
I snipped about a centimeter into the fabric on either end of the elastic channel. Then I started gathering the portions of the sleeves that go over my chest and back.
Okay, so the sleeves are done. I think they're shaping up to be pretty cute. Maybe I should have made them a little bit longer, but I'm not going to worry about that at this point. Overall, I think they're good. My gosh, I'm looking so frazzled. So the next step is going to be to sandwich the sleeves in between the main fabric and the lining layer and sew it all up across the neckline. Okay, I do look a little bit psychotic right now. I just kind of put the dress over what I was wearing so I can't like fully zip it up or anything. But that's okay because we're going to have the reveal here very, very soon. I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek. I don't want to give anything away. Sorry, you can't really see the bottom. That's part of what makes this look kind of crazy. But also, look at how much the tulle makes the skirt stand out. I'm so excited. A little crazy right now, but you see the vision. You see where this is going. It is going to be super cute. I have a few things I need to finish up. I just sort of quickly added the lining and all of that. I wanted to get a better idea of how things were looking, if I needed to tighten the arm elastics, which I definitely did. We're pretty done. I'm going to do a little bit of a cleaner finish on the lining, maybe understitch it so that it stays rolled up. I got to finish the arms and I have to hem the underskirt and add in the lace. But we're almost done, guys. I think I've said that before and I lied to you, but this time I'm actually serious. We are actually very close to done now. For the finishing detail, so the original dress has like a white bow on the front of it, but honestly, I'm not really a fan of that. I don't think the white looks that great. I don't know. It just seems like very lackluster to me. And a big part of the fun of sewing your own clothes is being able to customize and make things exactly how you like them. And so instead of doing a white bow, I'm going to do a pink bow. And I think I'm going to use this ribbon that I picked up at a thrift store. This is Better Homes and Gardens Floral and Nature Crafts, apparently. Got it for $1. But I love this sort of dusty rose pink. I think that it's very sweet and it goes very well with the dress. So yeah, we are very much in the home stretch, you guys. I'm just gonna wrap up sort of the finishing details here and I'll see you for the big reveal. I'm so excited.
But wait, because I forgot that I needed to add boning to make sure the dress doesn't start drooping down like a birthday balloon that's been tied to someone's mailbox for 3 weeks. Or like those strapless bras that I used to wear in middle school. Originally, I planned to just slip the boning in between the main fabric and the lining, so I started sewing channels down the front bodice. As it turns out, shoving the boning up those channels was harder than opening a door with fresh nail polish, so I ended up using bias tape to make the channels on the inside of the dress, and that was much easier. So I just finished pinning the lace to the bottom of the skirt, and I had just enough. This is all the lace I have left. Thank you, Antique Store Lace, for coming in clutch. Once I sewed on the lace, my thrift store recreation was complete, and I was ready for the big reveal.
Okay, you guys, this is the dress. I think that this turned out so stinking cute. I love how feminine it is, how girly. In fact, I think that this dress like really personifies girlhood. And I'm saying that as someone who at 10 years old could tell you which lightsaber belonged to which Jedi based on the handle. Like, yeah, I was going to challenge you to a lightsaber duel, but I was going to do it in a pretty dress. I really love the little ruffle sleeves. I love the little touches of lace, the pink bow, the V-waist. I love how the tulle really does so much work helping this skirt stand out. I feel like it almost makes it comically full. Like, I kind of look like I'm wearing an umbrella here, but I absolutely love it. I feel like I finally did justice to this gorgeous fabric. Now, there are a few things that I think could be improved. The sleeves, very cute. I think that I could have made them a little bit longer though. And also, I'd never done a sleeve kind of like this before where it goes like all the way around the dress. So I was just kind of winging it. And it doesn't lay super great at the top here. I think there's too much fabric, so it kind of wants to pop up a little bit. And I have to kind of keep an eye on it and press it down. But it's not too bad. The other thing that I did kind of goof up is the hem of the underskirt is not super even. So you can see, especially in the back, it is a lot longer than it is in the front. But honestly, like I said, this turned out to be much more mini than I was expecting. For like the main fabric, I made the hem so super thin and it's still very, very short. So like, I don't think that it looks super great with how long the lining skirt is, but like I kind of don't mind it because I do like having a little extra coverage, especially back there. And then the bow, I ended up just going with this ribbon and it is like, you know, a little bit droopy. It doesn't hold shape as nicely as it could have if I had like, you know, made a bow out of fabric or something like that. I don't know. I like the satin. I like the color. Overall, I just felt like this was the best option for the little bow in the front. Oh, and also kind of having to sew the channels for the boning added a few like a little bit of like wrinkles. I don't know if you can even see, but it adds some wrinkles and a little bit of puckering to the dress that wasn't there before and that I don't love, but I also don't think is really that big of a deal. But yeah, overall, I think it's adorable. I think that my younger self would have stabbed someone with a lightsaber to get this dress. Honestly, my adult self might have done that if I wasn't able to just make it myself. I love it. So, yeah, overall, I'm really happy. I think that we got it very, very close to the inspiration. I think that it is so adorable. I really wish that I had a tea party or a garden party and that it wasn't October so that I could actually wear this somewhere right now. But it's fine. It'll still be here in the spring. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, it really helps me out if you give it a thumbs up. If you want more videos like this, I do a lot of sewing and style content. We're moving into fall, so I'm sure that I'll have some knitting and cozy sewing vlogs coming up soon. Please feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you around here. And yeah, I really hope that I see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.